Anybody on the right? Anybody on the left? Will you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get a roll call.
Mr. Cook,
Present.
Mr. Andriano.
Here.
Mr. Rogan.
Here.
Ms. Smith. Here. Mr. Williams.
Here. Counselor.
Public notice is hereby given that the special districts assessment roll and the annual estimate of expenses and revenues for special districts has been prepared and is available for review at the office of the assessor at Town Hall, 1142 Route 311, Patterson, New York. Pursuant to Town Law Section 202-A, the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York will hold a public hearing on the aforesaid special districts assessment roll and the annual estimate of expenses and revenues at the town offices 1142 Route 311, Patterson, New York, on September 27, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. in that evening of that day, or as soon thereafter as may be held, in which time all persons interested therein shall be heard. The town board will make every effort to assure that the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk.
So first, I would ask that anybody who has any comments on the special assessment roll, if you would approach the mic, give your name and address for the record, and we will hear your comments. By way of a little background, every year the town board is required under state law, town law, section 239 and 202A to prepare a special assessment roll showing all the individuals who are affected by our special assessments, such as our lighting district, our water districts, our wastewater district. And so every year we have to prepare this roll and put it out to public comment and have issue, hear the comments and then eventually adopt it. The special assessment roll is that white book sitting in front of me. And at that point, I would ask anybody in the audience, if there's anybody that has any questions or comments, if you would approach the mic. Going once. Going twice. Hearing no comments, I'll open it up to anybody joining us by Zoom. If any member of our Zoom audience, we have no Zoom audience tonight. So, well, Laura's here tonight, so that takes care of our Zoom audience. All right. Does any board member have any questions or comments? Oh, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Reports.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the following reports: code enforcement, the code compliance for September 2023, code enforcement for September 23, dog control officer for September 23, ECI for August and September 23, and the Patterson Recreation for September 23. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the supervisor's report?
I'll make a motion. We approve the supervisor's report for August 2023. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion. We approve town board meeting minutes of September 13th, 2023. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we're down to auditing the bills and we have a few of them.
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve abstract number 16 dated August 25th, 2023, in the amount of $413,605.38. So moved.
Second.
For discussion, I would just like everybody to note that this is an amended abstract. What happened was a couple of the voucher numbers were left off.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve abstract number 17 dated September 15th, 2023, in the amount of $362,355.56. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'd like to also make a motion to approve abstract number 18 dated September 29th, 2023, in the amount of $409,091.25. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have budget transfers. And we have budget transfer request number 20 And this is necessary to reallocate funds to the recreation contractual camps account. So we'll be decreasing recreation program seniors 1,500, increasing recreation programs camps revenue accounts 1,500, decreasing rec programs contractual seniors 1,000, increasing rec programs camps expense accounts 1,000. So I'll make a motion at the town board, approve budget transfer request number 20, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have, because we did some in between last go around, we have budget adjustment request number 25. And that is to allocate additional funds to cover approved lighting repairs and chemical costs. And this is increasing the appropriated fund balance revenue accounts, $8,975, increasing the sewage treatment, was that disposal equipment and capital outlay, $3,950, increasing sewage treatment disposal contract chemical expense accounts, $5,025. So I'll make a motion at the town board, approve budget adjustment request number 25, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have budget transfer request number 26. Is necessary to reallocate funds for the justice's training account with a conference request adjustment due to additional mileage. So we're moving $10 from the justice contractual expense accounts to justice training expense accounts, $10. I'll make a motion to approve budget transfer request number 26. So moved.
It all has to be accounted for.
Yes,
does.
ma'am.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, you're so right. All right, moving right along. Budget transfer request number 27. Necessary to reallocate funds to the employee benefits, disability, and retirement accounts to cover increase in rates. So we'll be decreasing employee benefits, state retirement, $211. And parks contractual, $500, and increasing employee benefits disability, $211, employee benefits state retirement, $481, and employee benefits disability expense accounts, $19. So I'll make a motion to town board, approve budget transfer request number 27, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All
Keep
right,
it going.
moving right along. There we go. Senior trip request. To go to Aqua Turf. This is their Aqua Turf trip, November 8th, 2023. And the net cost to the budget is $1,025. So before I make a motion for the board to approve this, I want to make sure that everybody understands and may want to get their bid in. The show is Elvis is in the building, not Taylor Swift, Elvis, for those of a certain age. So I will make a motion to town board, approve the trip request submitted by the seniors, for Putnam Lake seniors, in the amount of $1,025. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next is a bittersweet one. We have a letter of resignation from our town planner, Shannon Jenkins, who has an opportunity to work for the New York City Department of Environmental Protection organization as a restoration planting specialist in Ulster County. And Shannon will also be relocating to Ulster County. So Shannon, we wish you luck, Godspeed, you're a great worker. And I will make a motion that the town board accepts the resignation letter of Shannon Jenkins dated October 6, 2023. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Just want to make my comment. I'd like to make a suggestion that we do an exit interview with Shannon. Just to see, the reasonings why she's leaving, just for us going forward, retaining, we just promoted her to town planner last spring. We invested a lot of money into her. I wish her well, it's her decision, it's her family, and I'm happy for her, but now we're out of town planner again. After all these years, searching and grooming and building up a town planner. So I'd like to find out how we can maybe look into ways of, retaining someone in the future. Is it not enough money? Was it too much workload, or what have it, so.
Would you like a whole town board involved in that, or sure, do you like? Okay, we can set it up with the whole town board.
Are we advertising currently? We're going to put an advertisement.
We are
out?
going to be advertising.
And I understand the list. She was the only one on the list. Is that accurate?
She was the only one that took the test.
Mm. Okay.
Yes,
So we have to give another test.
yes, yes, it's a civil service tested position. So whoever we do find, if we do find somebody, and listen, we can call for the test right away as well. And see if, the test generates anybody.
We waited a long time for that test to come out.
We did.
Mm.
Hopefully, we're not gonna wait again.
Yeah.
So,
Shannon Shannon is a very bright young lady, and I think when we hired her, we said this young lady is going to be hard to keep because she was, I keep saying was, I don't mean was, is highly intelligent, and I think, was very appreciative of all the trainings that she received in town of Patterson. I spoke with her earlier this evening briefly, and so, this is a great opportunity for her, and I don't ever, as Councilman DeAndriano said, we're happy to see people moving on and doing great things, but also sad for Patterson because of the great work that she did for us as well.
absolutely. Sean,
All set, Charles? All set?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. So next item we have is a request from our Justice Court. There was a rate change that came and was notified to us by the Unified Court System, New York State Unified Court System. And the court justices are requesting that we approve our translation services to remain with LE Translation Services. There are multiple other quotes that were given within the documents, but essentially the New York State Court System notified us that there was a rate increase effective June 1st, and this will be going into 2024 for translation services. The town justices said that they've been using this service for many years. They're a dependable and reliable organization, so their recommendation is that we approve using LE translation services into the new year. So I'll make a motion that we approve their request and continue our service agreement with LE Translation Services for the New York State Unified Court System rate, as mentioned in the enclosures. It's $220 per half-day rate for the translation services. So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
The next item for discussion came out of this is a letter from Hogan and Rossi and Liguori attorneys, and this came out of our most recent planning board, not most recent, but the planning board meeting of October 5th. A discussion that they had about some possible zoning amendments that they'd like the town board to consider. First is related to special use permits for public garages. Essentially, when we had changed our zoning years ago, we had required that one of the architectural elements to be considered was to resemble a colonial or New England style. But the planning board believes that for public garages and automotive dealerships that perhaps this should not be the case. So they are asking that the standards for this within the zoning code, that it's an unnecessary burden, and they're looking for us to potentially change that. Want to take these one at a time or just?
Whatever you want to do.
So, I think the board needs to take a look at the section of the code and see whether or not this is appropriate. I think when we're talking about public garages or automotive dealerships, they are a little bit different of an architectural element than some of our other commercial projects that we have around town.
So by way of background, the planning board was looking at a project where somebody was looking to relocate into an existing building. And it became quite difficult based on the standards we had within that section of the special use permit. Because building did not resemble, and the architectural standards that were included in the code. And I agreed with the planning board, the building was an appropriate location, an appropriate building for the public garage, but the code created some difficulties. I don't know I'd be comfortable with taking it out completely. But certainly for existing buildings, I think we need to give the planning board the tools and the latitude so that they can, adjust. So where this does come up for an existing building, they can fall back on the other architectural standards we have in the code.
Does the way the code is written now preclude someone from going to the ZBA for a variance from those standards?
No, it does not.
So
And that's what they
inherent.
did, but it's, it's a hardship for somebody who wants to go into a building to have to go through that additional process of trying to seek a variance.
Another alternative would be to allow in the special permit proceeding the ZBA to vary it without requiring a variance. So instead of giving the ZBA explicit authority to waive that condition for an existing building, if all the other applicable areas are met. Or
You said without requiring a variance application?
yeah, so you could put in your code that the Board of Appeals has the authority to, that they can waive this requirement without requiring further variance, because they're going to, like you mentioned, they're going to be in front of the Board of Appeals also for the special permit.
Right.
So you can give them the authority to waive that. It's just that the way the code's written now, they don't have authority without a variance application, which is another hurdle. Whereas if it's within their discretion, it's a little bit of an easier process.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the problem, one of the difficulties is it's a use variance standard rather than an area variance.
It could potentially be a use variance standard for that provision.
Yeah.
Which would be a monstrous hurdle. They have to prove that the property isn't valuable unless it's a public garage. Which, like on the application that came before the town, was a property that was, as Rich said, both boards felt was completely appropriate for this garage, but it was an existing building. They weren't building something new. And even neighbors had come out in support of the application. So it was, everyone felt a little bit bound by what was going on.
Okay, so any other comments, questions? So the next item relates to accessory apartments, and within the code, the principal dwelling and accessory apartment has to comply with health department requirements as it relates to water and septic. Zoning Board of Appeals may require proof as may be reasonably necessary to demonstrate that the compliance has been met. And failure to correct promptly any issues shall result in the revocation of the special use permit. So there have been instances where people are modifying these apartments, and it depends on whether or not there's a change in the potential bedroom or the occupancy, of whether or not they would have to go to health department and meet additional requirements, like expanding a septic system, for instance. And it was discussed with the engineers at the health department. And essentially, the idea that the building inspector is reviewing the plans and can decide whether or not there is an effectual change in occupancy. So after consultation, the planning board was recommending a change or a replacement of the section of the code that would essentially say that the health department has jurisdiction over additions to principal residences and additional bedrooms. Upon receipt of an application for an accessory apartment, the building inspector shall determine whether there is an increase in the bedroom count. If an increase is determined, the application will also require the approval of the department. If no increase is determined, then the building inspector shall confirm that the zoning board shall confirm that to the zoning board of appeals. So essentially, he's verifying to the ZBA that it meets requirements. To me, that sounds pretty logical. I think that is a practical application. Where I've seen some instances is, we have to make sure that the building inspector is reviewing plans in a consistent format. Because it does come up where people call things all kind of, oh, I didn't think that was a bedroom, or so there just needs to be consistency in my mind as to how the building inspector is reviewing the applications.
Well, I think, we're gonna need to make this change. It's being kind of pushed on us. But ultimately, we're gonna need to sit down and talk about better defining what a bedroom is, so that we,
God help us.
well, we at least have a policy that we can provide to the building inspector to give him some guidance.
Yeah.
This practically came up too, because in front of the Board of Appeals, for the longest time, we always got something from the health department.
Right.
And then we had applicants in front of us saying, no, the health department said that it's not an additional bedroom, so I don't have to get anything. And we wound up having to put matters over for a month with, people having to wait and hold them up. Because we were waiting on something that was required in our code, and the health department was saying one thing and our code was saying another. So it's just, now it's become something where we know the health department has told us this, but at the time, applications were being held up over for 1 month, 2
Right.
months because of this uncertainty.
So not to try to get into specifics too much, but if I was under the impression that a bedroom constituted, there should be a closet, the walls would be to not be a bedroom, the walls would have to be, I guess, 6 feet. There needs to be 6-foot opening. Correct me if I'm wrong. So why would the health department have different codes?
Well, it's not that they have different codes, it's that if it's keeping jurisdictional boundaries where they're supposed to be. So if the building inspector is reviewing a set of plans and he says, oh, this isn't an increase, well, then don't even kick it over to another agency. You're just adding layers. I think that's the point, that you're adding
Yeah.
extra review and extra time that's unnecessary. There was a time when the health department was pushing for this because there was a lot of discrepancy across the county as to the way these were being reviewed. And I think depending on which month you asked, there was different interpretations. Well, there's no closet, so therefore it's not a bedroom, or there is a 6-foot opening. I think within the Uniform Building Code, there are very specific standards as to what is a habitable space, and with whether it's ceiling heights, egress, right, the size of the windows. So I think the building department is uniquely not only situated is the right word, to be making those determinations. And when they say that there's an increase, then it automatically should go over to the health department for review to make sure that there's septic capacity.
Yeah, the issue I think came up because the way the code was written currently, no matter what, if you're applying for an accessory apartment, you have to go to the health department. So let's say you had approval for 4 bedrooms and you've always had 3, and now you're putting in an accessory apartment with the 4th bedroom, you still had to go to the health department, the way our code was written. And now the health department is saying, we don't need to look at your application if you're putting in that 4th bedroom you always had approval for.
Right.
But the way our code was written, we're saying, no, we need to see that from them, and it was just becoming a back and forth.
Mhm.
So this change would say, as long as the bedroom count is what has been approved, we don't need to see the health department as the building department confirms that.
And Mary, I think as to your specific question, I think that's a great conversation with how the building department looks at the uniform code and
I agree with that. I don't know that there's a requirement within the New York State Building Code that a bedroom has to have a closet.
right.
Well,
And
no,
it's been,
not that it has to have a closet, but that if you put a closet in an area, like, for example, a finished basement, if you close the walls in to a certain point, you put a closet in there, now we're gonna look at it as a bedroom.
I think it
Therefore, if
depends
you
on
have a
egress. though.
3-bedroom home with a septic, or a 3-bedroom home, now you made 4, and now that's where.
the difficulty
issues.
becomes when we have a 3-bedroom house with a 3-bedroom septic
Mhm.
that also has a den, a library, a weight room. And we all know they're not gonna be used,
Yeah.
and we've run into that.
Mhm.
We had one plan in particular that proposed having upstairs weight room. There was 3 bedrooms and a 4th room that was a weight room. So they didn't, go over that need to improve their septic system for 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, and the problem is if you try to create a document which outlines every nuance, you're setting it up so that people will use your document against you and they'll,
Mhm.
because I can remember a specific case where you try to, again, create the protocol and then someone uses it perfectly and they end up with like what really is like an 8-bedroom house that they squeak it in because, so it can be tricky, but I think it, like Rich mentioned, it depends on the location within the house. It depends on how the house is laid out, going to be used. Sometimes you say, look at it as a new buyer would look at the house and see how they would potentially use it. Okay, and the next item, pretty straightforward, has to do with metal sided buildings, and the planning board simply wanted to allow for buildings along Commerce Drive. As everybody knows, Commerce Drive is a commercial subdivision. It's not a residential use, so they wanted consideration to be able to use metal siding, which we had previously for Commerce Drive. So those are the 3 items they would like us to consider.
Any other discussion?
I think metal sided buildings in some of these industrial or commercial areas like Commerce Drive, as long as they're done, I think it has to be looked at with all the other architectural elements. There's some ugly metal sided buildings. It depends on where the building's located. What the visibility is on the project. So I think it's nice to have the option, but still should be not an automatic, still should be under review by the de facto or the architectural review board.
Is everybody okay with moving forward with these changes?
Yes.
Okay, well, then I will put them together in local law and bring them back to the board. All right, first on my agenda is recognition of some work that was done this spring. I would be remiss to not acknowledge the Carmel Central School District SEPTO program and Girl Scout Troop Inspire 1, 2, 3, 4 on June 25th. Came over to Town Hall and they cleaned up the whole front and planted all sorts of flowers. Michael. And they created a little rock garden. And Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you'd come up to the mic, you want to explain this?
Oh. Classic punt. Do you want to?
We got to get you on the mic. Sorry.
So my name is Maria Camacho. I started the Carmel Central School District Special Education Parent Teacher Organization. Here in Carmel, the end of last year, I do have a little girl who has her parents to come together and work together to get things done with the Board of Ed and just the town in general. And we've been coming together with different groups. She's coming.
Fine, she's welcome.
She's a runner, so I'll take.
Oh.
Yeah. So we been working together with a bunch of different groups, kind of inclusion, education, that kind of thing. So we decided, Bill started Hope for Horticulture, and he's using plants and gardening to bring everyone together. So he asked us to do something with that. And I started a Girl Scout troop that's an inclusion troop for all the girls. About half of them have special needs, and the other half does not. And we work together to do different things. That rock garden is a kindness rock garden. So it says words of encouragement and inclusion. And we had all different kids come. There was a lot of kids. We had a lot of fun, and we appreciate the opportunity. So
And I have my rock here. It says spread love.
there we go. So thank you guys. Hope to see everyone.
Hey. Yeah. So, well, so while Sean is going out because we did some certificates of recognition for you, I'd like to recognize Mary Camacho and family, Bill Yellett, We've got Fiona Haggerty, Janine Valentino Lopez, Megan Williams and family, Abigail Andrea Azalea Lyons, Maritza Riviera and family, Morella Ramirez and family, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, Diane, Samantha, Carl, Alicia Donato, Robin and Kara Yella. And a special thanks to Greg Bollard for donating the flowers, CEO of Maywood Estates.
Great job, thank you. Got that.
So, and thanks, Bill, for doing that. You want to
Pass it down so Charlie and Barry can see that.
Charlie's got his rock.
He's got his room.
Charlie's got a rock.
I got a rock.
He's got a rock.
Very nice, beautiful.
Very nice.
All right, next on my agenda, and this is just for discussion for tonight. About a year ago, we had an individual come into town hall who wanted to go through all the offices in town hall and videotape all the employees and, you know, everything that was on their desks, everything that was out. And fortunately, you know, we had a policy in place at the time that didn't allow him to do that. So he then went outside and walked around the building and videotaped everybody working on the first floor through the windows. We actually, and I want to recognize Mary Delanoy when she went to the Association of Towns or the Association of Receivers. Okay, brought back some good information and a recommendation that the town establish a policy for limiting the rights and access to town-owned, controlled, and leased property for the purposes of photographing, video recording, and/or sound recording with public and non-public forums. I took the information, pulled through it, pulled it all together, and put this policy together for us to consider. So if the board could take a look at this, review it. If you've got any comments, please get them back to me. Because I'd like to move this someday in the future.
I would just suggest that you also send a copy of this over to the court. The planning board chair, the ZBA chair, and the recreation director, just to see if they have any comments that might be pertinent to their area.
Can do that.
I would really appreciate if, Jamie, if your office could take a look at this, because the concern I have is that, we always hear that policy doesn't trump constitutional law, that you can create a policy, but that's not, you know. And so I think it would be appropriate that our public areas, like you walk into town hall, it's the foyer. That's a public, anybody can walk in when we're open. And so anyone that probably would want to film would be, I would assume would be able to do that in that area. What I would want to make sure is that we're not, and just so you know, Putnam County adopted a policy very similar to this that made us look at our areas, each department, and decide which were public areas where anybody could come in anytime, which were semi-private. And the idea is that the staff need to know that if they have information out that is sensitive in nature, it's their job to keep that information sensitive. If people can see things with their own eyes, they probably can video it, or, you know, so whenever we're dealing with sensitive documents, we have to keep that in mind. But I want to make sure that by setting policy, we're not getting ourselves in trouble in other areas, that we don't end up with a lawsuit for, you know, First Amendment constitutional violations.
Understood, and I believe what Rich was trying to do was to protect those areas that you were talking about, the areas where,
Private areas.
and just as a function of your job, you have to have that information out, but we'll take a look further and just make sure it's fine-tuned enough that no one's gonna question that.
And so everybody knows, the first thing I did with this is send it to the town attorney to
Mhm.
take a look at it.
Yep.
Yeah, because we are treading softly here. And that is it. Mary,
Um, The first item on my agenda is a request for donation. I guess this is open for discussion as for regarding 8 Shoreham Drive. We have a letter here from a resident for the vacant land is asking if the town of Patterson would be interested in purchasing the land. Are we going to discuss this or?
We are discussing it.
Mhm,
That's why it's on.
okay.
Well,
So
go ahead.
are we going to request for the donation or?
Well, I don't think he's looking for a donation. He's pretty clear that he's looking, to sell the property. I did take a ride out there and we can certainly table this and give the board, everyone an opportunity to go look at it.
Mhm,
It is a challenged piece of property. I don't know that they would actually be able to build on it. There are wetlands on it. There's no road drainage directly discharging that would, have inhibited development of the property. It's just drainage from the surrounding region that's flowing onto the property. And it backs up to a very active stream.
I just have the comment that it's interesting what you just said. And our ECI man says, like in his opinion, the property is not buildable for a variety of reasons. Yet, the market value
mhm.
on this piece of property has increased.
Charlie, that's part and parcel though, that until something is deemed non-buildable by a government organization, they're gonna assess it as it's like if you had a 2-acre parcel, it's gonna be deemed potential buildability. Ted saying what he said doesn't constitute the property being unbuildable. I think what does constitute, in just layman's terms, is that it's less than 1/3 of an acre. There's almost no way that somebody can fit a septic system in and a well and maintain separation distances to their neighbors' wells on that size lot. It's why we end up with so many lots in Putnam Lake and other areas like that would have been buildable in the 1940s under different regulations. But it's kind of one of those situations we see time and time again where if you didn't take advantage of those less stringent regulations back then, you probably don't have much of a prayer of building it today. And that's why we end up with so many lots that do go for tax foreclosure, because at some point, people realize, why am I paying taxes on a $35,000 assessment? When it may not be buildable. But the gentleman hasn't gone through the process, because if he went through the full process and was denied, I imagine he could then go to the assessor and say, hey, and they would maybe change the assessment. Many cases when people bring lots and they say, I'm not going to pay this, it was assessed for like $5,000, something like that. The value is much different.
Okay, but who determines that this parcel is not buildable?
Well, again, what
It's
Sean was
wetland.
saying is he has to go through the process and it starts with trying to prove out a septic and well. And what's occurred here is his first step. He went out there, looked at the soils. And there's clearly Phragmites growing on the site. There's other types of wetland vegetation. Wetland vegetation on a site usually indicates poor, frequently saturated soils that are not going to support a septic system. So Ted advised him that it's not likely he's going to be able to, do anything with the site. It's up to him to then hire those consultants to go out and prove it out.
Well, it looks like he had Jason Snyder from Beatty and Watson on site there. So I think they were probably talking about the site holistically.
That's exactly what they were doing.
He probably didn't want to say it, but Beatty and Watson's probably sitting there saying 1/3 of an acre and you've got indicators of wetland. This is going to be impossible.
Correct.
I hate, you don't usually say things so definitively because until they apply and go through and get the denial, people are making educated guesses, but 1/3 of an acre is such a small lot for today's standards that, and rightfully so, we talk about protecting Putnam Lake and protecting our resources. It's difficult to do what you need to do. We use more water today than we did in the 1940s. It's just reality. People are doing more laundry and showers every day, and it's difficult to support that on this size lot. So even if it was a perfect lot, no wetlands or wet soils, I think it would be difficult. It's also, the gentleman has owned the lot. I looked just tonight on my phone on the county clerk's website. You can look at the parcel information. He's owned it since 1995. It lists the sale price of $1. So I don't know if it was a deal where he got it from someone, a family member or something, but the gentleman has owned the lot for quite a long time.
That was my next question. I was gonna ask, how many years has he had it?
But even in
He's saying it's
1995,
third.
when he transferred, I don't think he would have been able, even under those regulations.
No.
In fact, I think they were more stringent than on design criteria for the gallons per day per bedroom was more stringent then than it is now.
It was actually higher than it is today.
Yes.
So do we want to respond with a letter back?
Well, what does the board want to do with this? Are you comfortable with me responding to him saying, thank you, but we're not interested in purchasing the lot? Would you like to take a look at the lot? What would you like to do?
I would say that if you saw any value in the lot for stormwater improvements, then, for the area,
Listen, I won't deny that there is perhaps some value in the lot for stormwater improvements. And do you really want to spend $35,000?
no, but what I was gonna say is if there was any interest, then I would maybe reach out to the gentleman and say, we might be interested, but certainly not for. We have lots of property that's been donated to the town over the years in different areas that we've already invested some improvements in.
All right, so why don't I take another look at the lot to see what we might be able to cite as far as stormwater improvements out there? Then I can come back to the board. We can talk about making an offer.
If it's something that we're,
If that's,
and if not, then we tell them.
traditionally, we do not, purchase property, so.
Or accepting the donation of the property.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make any offer unless it's donation.
You want to leave it that way?
That's what I would do.
Okay. Listen, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Fundamentals.
All right, so then I'll just write it back and thank you. And at this time, the town's not interested in purchasing the property.
What's it say there?
I will write him back and say, thank you very much for your offer, but at this time, the town is not interested in purchasing the property.
Okay, we have a couple of recreation requests. We have some upcoming programs and event pricing. We have Mommy and Me, $25 per child, the Holiday Bazaar and Craft Fair is coming for $35 per space. We have youth basketball and pumpkin painting at $10 per person, a Halloween family bingo coming, and that would be free. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the special upcoming event pricing for the Patterson Rec Center for Mr. Machabaro. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also, some non-bid procurement request form pricing went out, requesting prices for 100 shirts with a logo on the front for their soccer program. The low bidder came in as Fat City Screen Printing in the amount of $635. I'd like to make a motion to approve the $635 for Fat City Screen Printing for 100 soccer shirts. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
And we also have a new hire for recreation assistant, Justin Slate. He will be starting at the pay rate of $11 per hour, and all paperwork will be submitted to Sue Brown prior to the start of employment. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Justin as our new recreation assistant at the starting pay rate of $11 per hour. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're good? Peter?
Yes.
Our first item on my agenda, I have the annual service agreement with Partners in Safety. As you see, the agreement includes fees for administration of drug and alcohol testing for 2024 for 17 employees at $986, and it also lists the fee schedule for any other any other testing that's needed. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this agreement as written and allow the town supervisor to sign us into this agreement. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Could I just ask a question? I noticed on here there aren't any fees for post-accident. Do we do that? Do we have that as practice? We have post-accident drug and alcohol assessment?
Yes, at times. Yes,
Okay,
and the fees would be the same.
for,
There's nothing special about a post-accident. If we're doing drug and alcohol, it would be the same fees.
well, there is actually if she had to come to the building. So is it like an on-call fee? Because I actually use this service. I was just curious because I didn't see it on the list, so. So if one of the drivers is in an accident, we don't call anyone to do.
We're supposed to, yes.
Oh, okay. Alright. The reason why I ask is, oh, actually, it's right here. The reason why I ask is because it actually eliminates the liability on the person who you were involved in the accident with at a later date saying, make an accusation that the person was under the influence at all. So it's just kind of like just my recommendation is just to do it. It's actually to, you know, keep the integrity of our driver. It's certainly not suspicious that any of them are doing anything like that. And they're also subject to random. So I just think it would.
It has it listed as emergency service.
Mhm.
Yeah, for special
Yeah.
situations requiring urgent on-site collections for tests
Hmm,
on nights, weekends, or holidays.
yes,
Good point.
would just be a good practice.
All right, everybody good?
I'm good.
Okay, next I have a letter here regarding 40 Cushman Road, regarding the wetlands permit. The letter states that there was a wetlands permit issued back in July 14th of 2016 that has since expired. The property was never sold, so the applicant would like to needs to submit a new permit and is requesting that the fees would be waived for the new permit since the fees were paid for the old permit. All the plans are all the same. There's no change or anything. So is this something we can do?
So it is. But I think the better tack would be for us to take a look at amending our fee schedule to account for this. The issue is this, that in this particular application, it was a very extensive wetlands permit that ran around $4,500 for the original application. We've already done the review. We already know exactly what we're looking at. To have somebody come in just to resubmit everything exactly as it was, I think $4,500 is a bit extreme. You know, we're not spending that much time, or well, not we, but the planning board and our ECI are not spending that much time simply reissuing the permit with no changes.
Can we refer to it as like a renewal?
Yes.
Regardless of owner?
Yes, we can. The question that maybe we want to talk about is how much that permit fee should be.
It still has to be reviewed to make sure it's
Yes.
not changed.
Yes. So there is some work that's going to need to be done, but certainly not with the original permit. So having heard me, do you have a recommendation?
Well, what would be what would be suggested to review it? What would the fee schedule be for?
Well, right now, there's nothing in the fee schedule, and the original application, like I said, was about 4,500. I would probably estimate that total administrative time is probably going to be about 4 hours. You know,
Do you have a renewal fee?
we do not, well, so I believe there's a renewal fee, but there's not, once the permit is expired. So
What's the renewal fee compared to?
That I don't recall right now.
Well, as a notice is typically sent to the, when the permit is expiring to the applicant.
Would it be comparative to a renewal?
Advising them that it's
For the-
expiring.
Mhm.
Yeah, it probably would be, if we have a renewal fee.
That's a long time.
Not exactly sure we even have it right now, but I think we do.
So. You're saying 4 to 5 hours for this application. Is it possible that other? Because not every wetlands permit is $4,500, obviously. So it's scaled based on the complexity of the job. Do we need to build into any renewal protocol that it's a range of fees, starting at a minimum, let's say $200 fee, but then somehow being scaled based on what the technical team sees as the job entailing? Because I wouldn't want to say, oh, it's $200, but we just spent 5 hours reviewing it. Well, now we're costing the taxpayers money for a renewal.
Or potentially a percentage of what the original cost was, you know, if the plans are the same. And that way, if you can assume if it was a very extensive review the first time, even on review and renewal, there's gonna be some review as opposed to a very simple application the first time around.
That's a smart idea. Let me throw out to everybody also that, you know, this is on the agenda tonight because I've been waiting for 2 months now for a recommendation from the planning board, and where they are right now is they want to process the whole application. And they've actually made them pay the fee, and they're gonna process the whole application. And see how much time it takes them to do this. But.
And then ask for like a
Ask for
refund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not comfortable with that.
No.
I'm really not. All right, so based on, does everybody like Jamie's idea?
Mm.
All right, so
Yeah.
then what I'll do is I'll come back to the board next meeting with a proposal for a sliding scale for a renewal permit based on the original.
It'd be good going forward anyway. If
Yep.
we come into this another issue.
Seems like 25% of the original application. It's like a really good starting point. You know,
How much?
25%.
For $4,500?
Yeah.
That's a good fee.
Well, it depends. Like I said, if it's 4 or 5 hours, that's a technical hooks and.
That is all I have, thank you.
Okay, other business. Anybody have any other business? These.
Nice colored copy.
I got the nice colored copies. Pete, you wanna do that? You wanna do that?
This is too late. This will be, we don't even have to do that one. It's too late to register for that one. Yeah.
All right, Saturday, October 14th is garbage district number 1. That's Putnam Lake Garbage District. Bulk pickup. And again, Saturday, October 14th. Please have your bulk items curbside by 6 a.m. Saturday, October 14th. Okay. Little note here, if the truck passes your street and your items are not out, they will not come back. So please have them out. Your bulk items should be no more than 3 cubic yards. Items accepted in bulk pickup which require a special permit: appliances, large furniture items, couches, mattresses, stuffed chairs, etc. Okay, there's also a list on here you can see. Following items are not accepted in bulk pickup: e-waste, which is pretty much a lot of different things with cords, TV monitors, computers, printers, etc. Liquids, hazardous waste materials, and construction debris. So if you have any questions, you can call Patterson Refuge at 845-878-4341 or email refuse@patterson.org.
Next, we have from Brian Benedict and our wonderful friends over at the Duffel Bag in Patterson. He is sponsoring our Militaria and Knife Collectors Show, October 21st, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Patterson Rec Center on Front Street. Admission is $7, kids under 12 free with an adult. We thank Brian for bringing these type of events to Patterson. They're always well attended. And so check out that if you want to see that great event. Good, thank you.
There is so much memorabilia down there to go through, the history that they bring with them. It's phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
Next, we have an announcement about Trunk or Treat. October 28th from 1 to 4 p.m. Rain date is October 29th. Memorial Field in Putnam Lake. Volunteers needed. There will be prizes for best overall trunk, scariest and cutest trunk. I don't know if I've ever seen a cute trunk. Trunks are needed. All residents are welcome to trick or treat. To participate, please call Lisa at 914-469-2021. Trunk or treat, October 28th, Memorial Field at Putnam Lake with the rain date of October 29th.
Just to let you know, Brewster
Okay.
Schools will be there
Let's
with
see
a
this guy.
school bus and
Big
we do crossing, the parents get to come on the bus and we don't decorate it or anything, but we do like to participate in the community events, so hand out candy as well.
That might
Some
be the
safety-
cutest.
And some safety paperwork and bookmarks and all kinds of stuff, stickers.
Nice. Nice. All right, at this time, I'll open the floor up to public recognition. If there's any member of the audience joining us tonight who wishes to ask the board any questions, if you would approach the mic and give your name and address. You're up.
Good evening, everybody. Debbie Weisel with the Patterson Library. I hope that everybody has received their annual report. Just going through this, it's incredible the number of people who have participated in library programs, over 5,000 children and 2,300 adults. It's crazy, the numbers of people that are participating in those events. Over the course of the next few weeks, there's much to do at Patterson Library. There are movies tomorrow they're showing about my brother. That's at 1 p.m. There'll be a cake decorating workshop on the 17th at 1 p.m. And the Patterson Historical Society will be presenting Pieces of the Past, and that's on the 19th, and that's an evening program at 7 p.m. On October 22nd, Happy Life Animal Rescue will be at Patterson Library for an adoption program. There are things for kids as well, including Intro to Game Design, which will run on starting on October 30th. And please come out and check out everything that's going on there. Check us out at pattersonlibrary.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Debbie, before you go away, I want to relay a conversation I had with a senior. One of our seniors was complaining they're not very technologically advanced. They didn't have a computer. And apparently there is an issue where a lot of, and I'm not a coupon shopper. I get yelled at all the time because I'm not a coupon shopper. But there's a lot of coupons now that are only e-coupons.
Yeah.
And the seniors who don't have or don't understand the technology are not able to get the coupons and make the savings. And these are, you know, some of the portion of our community that really needs these, you know, these
Right.
savings as much as they can. They can go to the library.
Not only does the
And
library do computer workshops, I'm sorry to interrupt, do computer workshops, but they can use the computers down there and the printers and the copiers.
is there somebody there that could help them?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wonderful, because I did refer him to the library.
Yeah, lots of help down there for the computers. They're very tech savvy down there.
Great,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'll open it up to, sir.
To you.
Well, I was going to open it up to the members of our audience joining us by Zoom. No one's on.
Michael Terniansky, 521 East Branch Road in Patterson. I've been a Patterson resident over 30 years, 10 years of which was living in Putnam Lake. And what I'd like to address you about is about the election, but its impact for next year, because I have some concerns and I think it's well worth listening to. I am familiar with the experience of Rich, Sean, and Peter. I know that the town will be losing one council member due to retirement. I know that the supervisor and two council members' positions are open for re-election. Unfortunately, there is a lack of information about candidates Sudol and Russo who are running for office. In my opinion, they are presently not qualified and lack any experience for the offices they are running for.
We're allowed
Mike,
campaign
Michael, yeah, Michael.
It's not appropriate.
Yeah, I appreciate,
Well-
you're wanting to address the board. The candidates here that you just referenced, they're here in the audience if you want to have a conversation with them. But this really isn't the right venue for
That's fine.
political commentary.
Or tomorrow night.
Well, I'm hoping that the candidates will be present tomorrow night. I've been told that Sudol will not be present and the other two candidates have to fly.
Continue
Yeah.
going.
No, but the reason I'm mentioning this is if we have candidates who get elected.
Okay, this is.
Okay,
No, if they get elected and they aren't qualified and they get into office, it's going to be the responsibility of the Patterson Republican Committee for putting forward
So we're just gonna-
unqualified and
This is not a-
inexperienced.
Debate, this is not.
It's not.
You are.
But
You-
I'll be
you're
back here
talking-
in January.
You're bad
This
mouthing
happened.
candidates,
I'm
you're
not
bad mouthing
bad-mouthing.
people, you're,
okay.
you're asked to stop.
Pete,
That's
Mike,
stop.
Mike, thank you. Have a seat. Anyone else? I get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. I'll do it for you.